Hi, it's Patrick Reed from the Adamas Principle. Got some great macro stories that the market's just really enjoying. I have to say, before we look at the charts, I just want to say we are on the taper board, right? So the Bank of Canada really kicked this off. Then we had some tapering talk from the RBNZ. And, you know, there's now Australia potentially in July in the frame. Bank of England, there's always a little bit going on there after the vote. And then probably the juggernaut, which is the Fed. ECB way lagging, way behind the Fed. But that's the running at the moment. But let's just see what happens. So let's dig into the first chart. Euro dollar, this is actual weekly. Okay. We've had some awful chop, basically, for 7 to 10 days. And really, sometimes it's good to take a step back and see, this area 122.41, it really has failed. Now, we do have month end, we do have dollar buying to balance the books and all that good stuff. But let's just see if we continue into next week, if we stay below this 122.41, we very well might go down to this 121. Let's just see, because you know what? There is this underlying inflation story. There's fear creeping back here and there. And will the Fed taper talk or will they not? That's the question. Next chart. We've got our old friend Aussie dollar. This is interesting. China's calling somewhat and looking into the hoarding of commodities. This doesn't help Aussie, right? It just really doesn't. That said, the only upside to this is basically the July meeting, talk of the RBA relooking at the purchases of assets. So what does that really mean? It means taper talk, doesn't it? Expect some front running next week after these flows get squeezed out of this dollar buying into the rebalancing of the month end. But here we are, the technicals. The wedge goes from 77.10 all the way up to 77.78. Actually, it's pretty tight. What does this mean? It means when it does break, it should be big. Next chart, please. Now, this was the screamer. Talk of rebalancing Japanese stocks not really being replaced by the MSCI. And, dollar yen was the biggest dollar to be bought in the dollar buying month end balancing. So here we are. We're at the top. Could be slightly exhaustion, but you just never know. There could be another tiny squeeze for a little bit of extra dollar being bought. But as it stands, if this pattern does remain for next week, you might expect some sellers to turn up and take it all the way back to 109.22. Next chart. Dollar CAD, really the mercy of the crosses, doesn't really know what to do. What I will say is this can't really go down below 120, the figure. Can't really go above 121.86. What does that mean? It means range, right? It is absolutely range. Neither bullish nor bearish. The Bollinger Bands are contracting, so expect another breakup. Similar to the Aussie. If we do get a risk-off event, you'll get CAD tanking properly, even though the Bank of Canada was the first out of the gate of the taper. Let's just see what happens next week. Finally, our old friend cable, 143, the figure, the big level, 50%. That's it from me. My name is Patrick Reed from the Adamas Principle. Have a wonderful weekend and see you next week.